Natalie and Isabel from Reuben Feels. Reuben Feels is an immersive storytelling company. I need you guys to tell me a bit more about your entrepreneurial journey thus far. I know it's phenomenal, it's unique, it's different, and I want to learn more.
So, Reuben Feels is an immersive storytelling company. We create bespoke pieces for clients in marketing, entertainment, and the arts. To date, we've made over 100 award-winning pieces internationally.
So, Reuben Feels, tell us what that means. How did you come up with this name? What was the inspiration behind that name?
Well, the little boy, the logo,
Yes.
he represents the child inside all of us. Hence,
Yes.
we want to get the world playing, and it's
Yes.
really important at the
Yes.
heart of whatever we do, whether we're working with client,
Yes.
if we're doing workshops, when we're in rehearsals.
Yes.
For ourselves, we
Yes.
just maintain this idea, like, what would Reuben do? He's like
Yes.
the CEO of the company, really.
Yes, yes.
But he came, the name Reuben Feels, that kind of fell out of your mouth, really. So it's kind of evolved in that sense. And it's like, he's our little...
Yeah, but why Reuben?
CEO.
Well, Reuben is a very specific name. Did you know a Reuben? Or, it could have been Tom, it could have been...
Tom Feels.
Just being the
For sure,
inquisitive person that I am.
Yeah.
I'm sort of, I don't know the word for it, but you know how words like shape in your mouth?
Yes.
Is it
I don't
that?
think it is onomatopoeia,
yeah.
but it does sort of, it's a big voluptuous rolling word, like kind of green hills.
Yes.
And I wanted something that felt big and smooth and round.
Yeah.
And so very abstractly, I just started going, Reuben Feels, Reuben Feels, Reuben, it's Reuben.
Right.
Yeah. So, if you can make sense of that, then good for you.
I can now, but I like the name Reuben anyway.
Yeah.
It's a name that I've always sort of been drawn to. Believe it or not, you're probably thinking, but no, I do like that name, and I get it. It's something that you thought about.
The feels part is great for us.
Yeah.
We're very touchy-feely.
Yeah. And brand names don't necessarily have to be exactly what you want. They don't have to say what the brand is about.
And I think it leads with a question.
Yes.
So whenever we go in and meet a client or are interviewed or whatever, everyone's like, what's the name about?
Yes.
And it means that you're not going to forget it.
No, you don't. Tell us a bit more about what is immersive theatre, just for our audience, so they get a clear understanding of what it is.
So immersive theatre is highly engaged storytelling. So a nice way to explain this is when you go to, say, see the theatre, generally there's this, what we call a fourth wall between what's happening on stage and the audience. So a fourth wall is this sort of invisible barrier in a way. Nice. So you have the audience who are usually sitting passively watching.
Yes.
But whereas with immersive theatre, you take this wall away and the audience is playing within the world of the theatre. Okay. So we're really like, we're just, what's the word? Anyway, we're letting the audience play within this story world that we're creating. So it's all about the audience really, because without them it wouldn't be an immersive experience.
Right,
so they're at the heart of it. So everything we do is for them really, whether it's whoever the brand is or they're crucial to the process.
And how does this translate into actually creating a campaign? Do you have any specific case studies, any brands that you've worked with? Could you tell us a bit more about that process?
Yeah, a good one to talk about would be the piece we made for Red Bull. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's an international initiative called Red Bull at Night, and they already interesting.
Yes.
And they commission artists to respond to a brief, create the best night out that a Red Bull consumer has ever had.
Right.
And we adored this brief. It's a challenge, but actually it's pretty nebulous and intimidating.
Yes.
It's just sort of like go and create the best night in the world.
Yes.
But we looked at this critically and kind of broiled down what the components of those super special nights are, the ones you've had a handful of times in your life.
Yes.
And we identified that it's not the music, it's not the individuals you're with, it's not what you're wearing, it's not the booze you're drinking, it's not the place you've gone to. There's something about those incredible nights. There's a kind of serendipity. There's some accord with the universe and you end up somewhere you'd never imagined having arrived at.
Right.
So we came back to Red Bull and said, we will create a piece of theatre that will engage people with the potential of their own night. We're going to teach them to say yes to the night.
Yes.
Passive, despondent, expectingly expected, over and over, eyes averted from flashes of chance, the freedom of choice, the fire of passion, the flicker of hope, not destiny.
They loved this, said, yeah, all right then, have a go. And so we created a sort of surreal action adventure through the streets of Soho. Soho we loved because you spend a lot of time in Soho, but actually you don't kind of see it. You're zooming in and out for a meeting or grabbing a quick drink or a bite to eat. But there are so many layers of life and history in those streets.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place.
So our challenge was to engage our audience with the story of Soho and get them to embrace the potential of the night. So they arrived and they were greeted by an actress of ours who was posing as a hopeless event intern, who gathered everyone together and said, I'm so sorry, I'm not actually sure where we're supposed to be going, so if you just stay there, I'll be right back. And she disappears, and a homeless man is sitting watching the group, and he approaches them and he says, oh, could you spare some change?
Yes.
They would say no or give him a pound, but the person who says no, he says, but we all have the capacity for change. It's the word yes. He gives them a mobile phone and then sits down. The event intern returns and says, oh, I know where we're going. So she guides them through Soho. They head towards Chinatown.
Yeah.
And at the rotunda, there are two little Chinese kids and they're playing mahjong.
Yes.
And one of them's on the phone and they're ringing and they see that your mobile phone in your hand is ringing.
Right.
So they know you're the guys for the job that they have to contact.
Yes.
So they usher you over, and over this game of mahjong, they say, okay, he's ready to see you now. You're ushered down into the NCP car park in Soho, where you were bundled into the back of a van to meet this sort of eccentric Russian gangster who begins to brief you on the job.
Yes.
But as he's briefing you, he begins to smell a rat, and he's like, you're not the people, are you? He absolutely loses his marbles in this confined space. He's screaming in your face. He bangs on the side of the van.
Yes.
The doors open and everyone is blindfolded.
Yes.
They're bundled into the backs of cars and sent through the streets of Soho. The car doors open and they're in an alleyway that backs all the Chinese restaurants in Soho back onto this alleyway. And they meet this tiny, fierce triad leader who is about to skin you alive for betraying the team.
Code of conduct.
So you are being intimidated by this triad member and his heavies when suddenly a film crew come in who are looking for extras for this new film, and they just think you are exactly the talent they need.
Right.
They start taking photos of you and giving you screenshots. And then a drag artist intercepts you and says, come on darlings, this way.
Yes.
So you're ushered away from the triad member who's distracted, put on tuk-tuks and sent towards the red light district of Soho, where you meet a madam and are basically saved by a drag artist.
Right.
You end up in the box for the part of your lives. The big reveal when you're at the box is that the homeless man you met at the beginning is actually an oracle who was sent there to teach you to say yes to the night, and he explains the potential of all the choices you've made through this 45-minute journey.
Yes.
All singing, all dancing moment that ends in a spectacular Red Bull fueled party at the box that goes on late into the night.
That's an awesome story, and I like the fact that you've really brought out all of Soho in this short space of time. You've covered all what Soho is about. And if anybody's been to, I've been to Soho not now, but in the past, in various points of my life, and it is a very eclectic place. So I couldn't see of the idea that you've used this as a setting for Red Bull. I think it marries very well, and it's explained what immersive theatre is very clearly. Yes, so thank you. Well, for me it has.
Good.
For me it has,
That's
and I think anybody who's been in Soho will know exactly what you mean.
The inspiration came from experience I had as an actress. I was working in immersive theatre, and I was really struck by the audience's relationship to the narrative. They're super engaged and they're playing, and this to me was a revelation. It was really exciting that individuals could have an expression, a creative expression, and an outlet in this way. While acting, I was also working in marketing and events, and I saw that constantly brands were coming forward looking to tell the story of their brand in a super engaged way, but moreover to create a kind of authentic communication with their consumers. So I saw what was happening in immersive theatre, and I saw what brands were looking for in marketing and advertising, and I thought this would be a really exciting crossover.
Yes, and I've noticed that you've married immersive theatre with marketing brands, and you've worked with a number of mainstream brands, i.e. Google, Netflix, Xbox. What was the initial inception what was the initial perception of you actually working with, how did they take this idea that you introduced to them of using immersive theatre to actually tell their brand story?
I think when we started in 2011, immersive theatre was less known in the mainstream. And so most brands, it was a case not only of sort of persuading them that this would be a good vehicle of experiential marketing, it was also an education. It was kind of like, this is what immersive theatre is, this is what it will do for your audience, and this is why it's good for your brand. And it took brave clients to commission us. And Mavericks, really. So our first commissioning client was Hendrick's Gin, who are fabulous at grassroots experiential marketing. They don't do anything above the line. And essentially, Duncan McRae, legend, the ambassador, gave us an opportunity and ran with us for about 3 years.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. I know. I mean, whenever you're both females, and again, not to sound cliche, but to go back to the point, you are working with these phenomenal brands. Has that ever had an impact on how you actually sell your brand story, how you actually sold your company, and what you actually do to actually, close deals with these big names per se?
What, being female?
Yes. Yeah. Has that?
I think the work speaks for itself.
Yes.
I don't think we've ever come across like kind of bullying or oh, that's just the cute girls in the corner. Well, maybe actually, maybe there's been I say this out loud, and now there has been a bit of like, oh yeah, the fun, kooky theatre girls. So actually, rewind, and it's what we do is like takes a lot of logistics and like strategy and critical thinking about what we're delivering for a brand's consumers. Like it's a lot to take into consideration, as well as the art form and what we want to say, and what we want to produce something amazing and make the consumers feel something, so that they come away with this like, oh my God, that experience for that brand was amazing and I'll never forget that. So we're really like, attaching those memories to that experience for the brand. So we have, So we come up against it sometimes, but it's very much like we don't really, it doesn't affect us, it just makes us want to fight more.
I'd also say 70% of the meetings we're in, there are more women than men
these days.
So it's more female proposition led, and so you get you're not facing as much hindrance as you potentially would have.
Especially in the last few years, isn't it? Where I was like, wow, great meeting.
It's very refreshing to hear that it's it is a female led area. within other industries that we've met, obviously there's always this slight Achilles there. I don't know if you could call it an Achilles, but it can go against you. So hence me asking that question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and I would imagine there's a lot of structuring before you actually carry out a particular campaign. There's a lot of preparation for it. How can you tell us a bit more about the that process? How from start. I mean, obviously, I don't expect you to wrap it up in a very short period of time, but how long does that take? What is the process for that?
Do you want to talk about the process?
I'd love to talk about the process.
Okay.
So lead time we recommend is about 6 weeks.
Right.
We'll go in. The first stage of the work is to really define the brief.
Yes.
So taking it from agency, sometimes client, generally an agency.
Yes.
And it's making sure we understand what the client wants the audience to think, feel, and do.
Right.
Once we've defined that, we'll really chunk down to figure out what the central message is. And
Yes.
that message comes from the campaign or the rebrand or
Yes.
the product. And then we put that message in the heart of a story. So from that message, we build out the story, go back and forth with script amends.
Right.
That'll get signed off. We define the structure around that. And then we cast it.
Yes.
We create the set, we create the AV and lighting, we create the costumes, and then we go into rehearsal. Depending on who the commissioning client is, we can collaborate with their suppliers, or
Right.
we bring in everything ourselves.
Yes.
And then we manage every element of the live event.
Yes.
We always recommend to our clients that they should do some kind of video content as well,
Yes.
or photography, so
Yes.
engaging social media channels,
Yes,
or having
of
a
course.
hero video, because that's how you get reach on an immersive experience.
Yes. Yes.
Nutshell.
Yes. Okay. What you do is quite a unique way to sell brand stories, for me anyway. When you first started out, how did you go about garnering awareness for what you do? So when you first went to market, what was your process? For an e-commerce company or a company that is an affiliate marketing company, we leverage social media and we know what our target demographic is. It's pretty straightforward. Is it a similar process, or is it something slightly more convoluted?
Well, I guess you look at it this way. Every brand has a story.
Yes.
We're immersive storytellers.
Right.
So coming in at that angle to bring something to life
Yes.
is where we come out from as a theatre
Yes.
company.
Yes.
So that's our difference to say, like,
Yes.
if you're just having promotional stuff or something
Yes.
like that, we
Yes.
really do elevate the experience to
Right. Okay.
another level. But it is about brands being bold and brave and I guess taking a risk, but like you investing in something that's like really gonna
Yes.
add value to an experience,
Yes,
an event.
Yes. Okay.
Anything else to add to that?
Well, in terms of marketing strategy from the beginning, definitely not social channels, actually. Despite having a very Instagrammable profession,
Yes.
the places we go, the people we work with, the events we do, we tend, full disclosure, to be too busy making the stuff to take photos of it. The way that we've always worked is word of mouth. So
Right.
for every commissioning client, there's an audience, and it tends to be that the kind of 25 to 35 ABC1 categories that we work with are often
Yes.
working in another agency with a different
okay.
client.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
we get a lot of business from the work we do. And then people will move between agencies. So really, it's all been on our reputation. And we always positioned ourselves as a brand, as the experts in immersive storytelling. We at our heart are a professional theatre company, and it just so happens that we speak the language of marketing, advertising, and
Yes.
brands.
Yes.
So now we're on panels, we're invited to speak at events,
Right. Yes.
and so that's how people know about us.
Yes. Yes.
It's on a need-to-know basis, maybe.
Oh, that's good. Well, it's good. It's very exclusive.
Very good.
So I know if you don't mind me asking, I know you mentioned you're both mothers. Has this had an impact or an influence in actually setting up your own business, becoming entrepreneurs? Has this in any way? I know it did for me, and it's just a question I put to you. Really, has that had an influence at all in you wanting to set up your own enterprise, or it's just because it's a passion, it's something you've wanted to do? I know you always had this passion if you're entrepreneurs by de facto, but has that somewhat increased or pushed you towards that path or this path at all?
Well, we started 8 years ago, very different points in our lives. So as our creative partnership has evolved and the business has evolved, and ever learning. Right. And evolving. Yes. The last couple of years has been a whole new spin on what it means to work and have a life and a balance and all the other aspects of day-to-day stuff. Yes. But it's like the best thing ever.
Yes, I imagine, yes.
It's just, we've noticed especially the way you have to work in a different way to really be super efficient with your time.
Of course, yeah.
That's a big one,
You suddenly have 2 full-time jobs.
Yes.
Yeah. Mother.
Definitely, yes.
And I think we always referred to Reuben Feels as our baby.
Yes.
So, he was our child that we birthed and gave everything to.
Yes.
And then my second child is a baby called Agnes, who's 8 months old.
Oh, lovely, yes.
And I think what you learn becoming a mother is phenomenal. I was talking to a friend of mine who said, she's a visual artist, and she was saying, I don't know what to do about the hole in my CV, because I took this time out when I had my baby James, and I was like, you write that on your CV, and you write down the skills and experience that you get from becoming a mother, because I tell you, you will become 100 times better at your job having kept a small person alive for any length of time.
It's always overlooked. People don't seem to realise how tough a job it is. Economics. When you started this business, did you go for funding at all, or is it something that you've just bootstrapped along the way and earned as you've gone along?
No funding ever.
Wow,
yeah,
that's commendable. I like to hear that.
Commendable or crazy?
Yeah. No, well, I say commendable. I mean, there's a lot. Again, we're going back to what I've spoken about before. We always hear about the stories about companies that have got funding. We never hear about the stories where people haven't got funding and have had to build these businesses very, carefully. And obviously, when I meet female entrepreneurs who've managed to do that without ever tapping into what I call the money box, it is. I know how hard it is. I've done it myself, and it's kudos to you if you do want to go and get funding. But I just think that if you can build a business out of using your own funds and leveraging whatever money you've made and putting that back into the business, it makes it even more an awesome journey. So hence me asking that question. It was very interesting talking to you guys. There's so much more I'd love to ask. I know when you have a campaign, do you employ a lot of actors? Are they all trained actors? Is it do they have to have specific backgrounds to be able to be involved in what you do? We work with some like the best actors, performers, dancers, singers, drag artists, musicians. I did look at the video before I came. Yeah, so I was glued. I like the music. Oh, that's cool. So that was a very good choice. It just keeps you there. So it's very eclectic. There's a lot going on. And who are the best brands? What's the best brand that you've worked with so far? I mean, there's so many to choose from. Netflix for me is one of the. I know they're very much into personalization and curation. So I'm not surprised that they've taken this route with you guys. The whole approach to business is very different. But Google, I saw Prudential, and this is a financial company. How did you convince them that this will, how did you manage to convince, an old, very established insurance company to work with you guys? What was the message? What did you sell for them to for them to come on board to close that deal?
Well, I think, you know, when we started out 7 years ago, our core belief was that every brand has a story, and there is no company too big or too serious to have their story told.
Right.
The same applies to an audience.
Yes.
And how they engage and play.
Yes.
We were all children once. So,
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, we all know how to play.
Yes.
And we love stories.
Yes.
And then I think, you know, you can engage the rational brain and talk about the merits of putting someone in a playful state, getting them present, creating emotional memory, which gets much more retention than any other sort of learning. You know, if you sit down and write lines out 100 times, or if you create a transformative journey that puts somebody in a state that's unique, they'll never forget it.
No.
So it's not hard to impress upon people the benefits and merits of immersive theatre.
Yes.
And then, you know, the USP of Reuben Feels is that every piece we create is bespoke.
Yes.
We don't have a brand tone of voice when we create our work, and that's incredibly important to us because of the variance in the brands that we're commissioned by. So you have Red Bull, for example, you have
of course. Yeah.
Prudential Vietnam, you
Yes.
have a software company, you've got Johnny Walker Blue Label.
Yes.
Totally different brands, totally different audiences.
Yeah.
And each story, each event is totally unique. So we have to go in and actually embody the brand values, the brand voice of the commissioning client.
Yeah.
And I think when you lay all of that to bear, it's not that scary a prospect to create a bespoke, immersive story. It's just highly engaged storytelling of the story of that brand. But it's a process of education.
Of course, yes.
I think it could be a scary proposition, but then you meet us, you realise we know what we're talking about, and then we walk you through the process and the pros and cons, and every step of the way we are as collaborative as we possibly can be with the client. You know, we can co-write scripts with people, and it's been a privilege to do that with, you know, software designers, drinks brands, all kinds of people, because everyone is a creative on the inside. So you unlock that, you walk this journey with the client, and that's how you get people on board.
Get them on board. Wow, it's you know, you make it sound easy, but it isn't. I'm sure. You know, to keep learning, as you say, these companies are very diverse in their propositions. So, you know, to go from an insurance company to a drinks company to, you know, Google, you know, there's a huge range there. You know, you use immersive theatre to actually, you know, for campaigns for brands. How many of your brands are, you know, how many of them come back? You know, do they reuse you? Is there a success rate in them? Like, we've done this, we've explored this. This is something we want to use again. Do you find that, or because in our area it's very important. We need brands to come back consistently, otherwise we go bust. So you know, just based on the volume for us transactionally, we need volume, we need repeat, you know, repeat transaction, repetitive cycles. So. Do you find that? Do you find that once they've explored it, it's something they want to do again?
I think it definitely depends on the clients and how they. We have amazing relationships with our clients, and some of them it suits it to come back and use us again, and sometimes it's like it's a little bit more time in between because that's what they've already done that as an experience. So, but we have some clients that come back and
I would say it's about between 5 and 10% of pieces.
That's not bad. That's good.
Well, and I would say that with the brand, but really it's the agencies. And even the staff from an agency who'll keep coming back. So we've had relationships with individuals who've been through 4 different agencies and keep bringing different clients to us. I think it's not necessary. A handful of brands come back to us year on year, and ask us for a different iteration of an immersive story experience. Other times, it's a kind of big one-off idea that's part of a campaign, but then they, you know, rethink their experiential spend the year after. And in those instances, we're really relying on agencies and our reputation with
Of
agencies.
course, yes.
So it's sort of a larger number of repeat with agencies, some repeat with client, and a high repeat with individuals.
Yes, yes, that's good. I mean, as long as you're seeing that, and 5 to 10% is quite a large, volume. I mean, with e-commerce, you expect it to be around 10 to 20. So, and it's a completely different business model. So yes, that is quite a phenomenal. Final question: you've got this interesting business model. You've shown how successful it is, and that people are interested in what I'm now thinking, exploring their inner child and wanting to get into this area. Are you looking at any, expanded upon that business model and anything else that you can potentially add, or are you just going to continue with this area for a while? Is it something that you feel that you can, not that it's not great as it is, but that you could potentially extrapolate upon, or are you going to continue working with this area?
Like, where are we going?
Yes.
Well, we are currently we're in the process of doing a new independent piece.
Okay.
So
yes.
as much as we work for client in their brief,
Yes.
we also,
Yes.
we have our own ideas that we want to.
Wow. I mean, for me, it seems like you are, doing very well. I've garnered that, but you're also having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
We do,
and that's
yeah.
important. A lot of companies that we speak to, they're making a lot of money, but they don't seem very, they seem very monotone about it. But this is something that has really struck a chord with us, and we were delighted when we got a call from you guys to interview, because we just find it something completely different. Obviously, we're not from the theatre world. But to see that this can be used in a way to, tell brand stories, and the way you do it, and now that you've explained it all, it's just, it's very inspiring. And we're two girls, two women, and as you know, we are, really focusing on female entrepreneurship because we feel that it's not getting enough exposure as it should. Great, so it was awesome having you guys coming in. We've been waiting for this for some time. We were very keen to get you in, and we're so happy that we learned about your entrepreneurial journey. And we love your business model. We like the fact that it's so unique and different, and the fact that you are using immersive storytelling to actually talk about these brands and bring their stories to life is just phenomenal. And we would love to get you back in at some point. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
That's
you.
it, guys. Reuben Feels.